It's Sunday night. It's dinner time. These guys are hungry for a win, just like I'm hungry for dinner. But we still got more to go, Dreadnought. And it's time. It's 1-1. Who's going to take the upper hand here?
I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm too caught up by you projecting your lack of ability to be able to eat dinner so far here out to everybody else at home.
They put too much spice on it.
I'm sorry. You hit me with the Rubik's Cube. I got to call you out on
That's fine. Dinner was too spicy. I couldn't eat it. I had to get a special order.
Yeah, it's a common thing there. The sensitivity of Jay Howe's palate is a rather interesting topic.
At least I know Tetcher's on my side. That's all I know after Korea.
Yeah. But as we said, tied up here between these two teams, No Tomorrow and Simplicity. And, you know, we were kind of joking between this about the idea of, like, who's actually going to win this series at this point in time. And I feel like it is very much a coin toss. It's very hard to predict based on the aggression being brought by Simplicity, struggling in the last game, not winning on the macro front, but then being able to return, you know, through that fight on the bottom death bridge. I don't know. I feel like Simplicity looks at their best when they're fighting. I know that much here. And so anything that's going to promote that playstyle, I think, is probably where I would like to see them go in terms of battlegrounds in the future.
Well, they don't call it the Bridge of Death for nothing. You know why they call it Tomb of the Spider Queen?
Why?
It's got Spider Queen, Dread. Come on, man. It's going to go there. Simplicity picking up Tomb of the Spider Queen here in game number 3. No, tomorrow they want first pick.
Do you know where the Spider Queen resides?
Underneath Sky Temple.
That is true, actually.
Yeah. So there was a moment we actually we were theorizing, and Gilly's like, "Hey, I think so," and then we actually had some people from Blizzard tweet me.
Yeah.
Tell me.
Because the little guy on Sky drops down, and he drops down into the Spider Queen.
Do you know that guy's name?
I should, but I don't. He's some famous adventurer that hangs out with Murden's brothers and stuff like that, right?
Last name Jones, first name Harrison.
Okay. Means about nothing.
It's a play on, you know, an old adventure in some 80s movies.
Oh, I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know. Do you know the state that's just north of Kentucky, by the way?
I don't.
That was your chance to say it without actually plugging it.
Indiana. Oh, you dingus. Jesus. This is clear as day.
This guy is delirious from the hunger as we wait for this draft to get underway. The Rubik's Cube threw him off. The food is throwing him off.
Everything's throwing me off here. Honestly,
you threw your pen off the table before?
That was a little bit of an accident. But sadly is a common misplay that Dreadnought actually makes frequently here at the commentary desk. It does feel like a lot of the norm has mixed up here today between the start off of LFM and Team Freedom, though it got back to normal, looking at a little bit more at games, you know, 4 and 5, but very much the opener of that series was a little bit off. And then I didn't expect this to be a back and forth series, to be honest. I thought one of them, I didn't know who, but I felt like one would be like, this is it, we're going to prove it. I thought it'd be Simplicity based on their background and then also what we got from Hosty, you know, and the importance there. But, you know, tomorrow, showing that they definitely are not giving up anything easy, sorry.
They definitely love the fact that they're not playing against Octalysis, because Octalysis, if you guys missed that, I can tell you, I've never seen anything like it. We've seen some unique drafts, but when your main tank is Azul, and you have a Medivh on your team, and Urel's off doing stuff in the solo lane, it's definitely a unique approach and hard to adapt to, and I think No Tomorrow definitely struggled against that play style overall, but they do find themselves, at least against more relevant meta here against Simplicity. So it seems their drafting, their map picks have definitely been on point. So for No Tomorrow, I think they do have a chance to come back in here again. Their role swaps in general drastically going to make things different
and
for you.
I think, you know, kind of playing on a battleground like Tomb of the Spider Queen 2, you're only going to be limiting any kind of probability of you being able to get behind on a macro sense. And again, against Simplicity, I take Tomb of Spider Queen, I say this is probably one of the weakest battlegrounds. Ignore the statistics purely just based on their performance level that they have here on Tomb and how much they have been depending on their team fights. Things like the Maev, yes, it's good within the 1-4, can provide a lot of threat and capabilities, but things like the Sergeant Hammer and as we've seen before from LFM, 2-1-2s, can really kind of set that off. And I don't think Simplicity is a roster that adjusts to those type of things very well.
I'll throw some stats to you. Coming into this weekend, they were 0-3 on this battleground.
Even worse then. It definitely, you know, I'm glad that the numbers at least seem to kind of align with the play style so far.
Need to double check the ones from the other day, but definitely coming into this weekend, Tomb, they ended up winning on Tomb. That was actually what closed it out on Friday, so picking up their first victory on Tomb earlier this weekend, so see if they can replicate some of that magic, because so far they were off to a rough start on this battleground. I agree with you a lot, because their play style and the way this map functions doesn't always be. It's like oil and water.
Yeah, it's like you can put them in the jar, but you aren't confident that it's really going to come out as a single kind of unit there. Very disjointed there as we're trying to get this draft underway, ladies and gentlemen. But it is other than the Maiev, I don't know if there's a major character I want to see. I think K1 Pro on the Maiev is going to be a high impact for the kill potential within the 4-man at all points of the series for simplicity.
I want to get a hosty Medivh just one time.
Like, I so agree with you, but then I don't, right? Only based on the fact that...
Not because of hosty, right?
Yeah, it's all what it requires as a unit for simplicity on a macro
unit,
team.
Of course.
It's just, I can't help but feel like it doesn't put too much there. I mean, everybody at home was probably on Reddit 2 days ago and got to watch Hosty. Literally after that broadcast, we get done with the interview, he's solo queuing and just ruining nerds. Ruining nerds. Top post on subreddit. He knows how to play the hero.
On Hosty's stream, you know you're getting a you love to see it.
You love to see it.
And maybe an oh baby or two. That's his go-to. You love to hear it.
And then we got the Diablo and Maiev in the 1-2 here. See if we see a little bit more focus. I do like that No Tomorrow did end up ridding of that Maiev.
It's definitely given them issues, for sure. And so Sergeant Hammer taken away by No Tomorrow.
I think the removal of the hammer takes away any kind of macro fear. That in mind, again, all the things I've been saying already, macro is not something I would be too concerned with. The simplicity ended up picking out. It's just not their comfort. Not that they can't get away with a W there, and considering the battleground, Sky Temple, or excuse me, Tomb of the Spider Queen, that playstyle does match up a little bit more. Last up though, simplicity, taking the time. I was really hoping it'd be something wild, you know? If we wait that long on a second ban, the last ban here.
Sometimes I forget Genji's a hero because he's either banned or it's not relevant to the draft.
Yeah. It's actually wild how polar he can kind of be. Yrel opener here for No Tomorrow. I like Vin on the Yrel so far. I feel like it's, or excuse me, Jin on the Yrel so far. It's looked pretty good. I've been doing that all week, and I apologize to both those players. I'm working on it,
Just
boys.
wait till you start getting Fan and Vin, and you get Fen and Van. That's the best. That's the best.
Vin and Van.
Vin and Van. The Blaze, though, does the Blaze require priority this early? It does not. That is one of the things that I was wondering. With the Yrel there, we've seen the target on those solo laners so far. Might be something that can play around.
Even more so when considering the last draft, right? Because we did see the Blaze high priority due to the response of Yrel on the other side of the battleground. White Mane is the priority here. No Tomorrow absolutely have shown that they do not... not that they're not willing to go in other areas, but they absolutely value. It is Deckard and a clear White Mane. We do not risk that before the second ban. I don't know if there's been a single draft they've been willing to let that happen here. Lockerface has made it looking pretty good, though, especially on Volsky Foundry.
Yeah, and he had a different build. He didn't go into the Playmaker at level 13 with that root capability. And boy, Shrite is garnering some respect because there's no Hanzo going to be allowed this game.
Yeah, on Tomb of the Spider Queen, that is definitely a bold ban. And there's the Hosty Medivh taken off the table.
I'm a little sad.
I mean, I am too. But that's only because I want to watch Hosty play Medivh. When I think of simplicity as a unit...
Guilty pleasures?
Yeah, it's one of those guilty pleasures.
Well, we'll see if we get something like a Jaina. We obviously need the setup potential. Will we get a Garrosh from King Caffeine? It's something he has reverted to multiple times.
Blaze Garrosh. Not sure how I feel about that rotation either, to be honest here, J-Hal. Raynor, Deckard, Blaze all have a very similar approach to a lot of the team fights. Blaze will be on the offlane a lot of the time. Deckard, Raynor have no major synergy with the playstyle to the kill potential opportunity of Garrosh. You know, as we've been talking about, the possible Jaina waiting in that last pick will be able to help that a little bit, but it's taken away by No Tomorrow there in that rotation, as well with a pretty solid pairing enabling the slow there for Phoenix. I like that rotation from No Tomorrow, the deny, but also synergistic to their composition.
Every single person has some type of CC. The slow options between White Mane, Murd, and Jaina. Phoenix against a Garrosh. Garrosh opportunities will be few and far between. You get a toss over on Murd and Yrel. Guess what? They jump right back out. It's going to be difficult, I think, for King Caffeine to get the plays, but they do have Blaze for the secondary playmaker. We're going to get a Junkrat, maybe get some extra displacement going.
I was wondering if it was going to be a Junkrat, or in this type of situation, if there was any value to a Gul'dan. I was thinking it might be a pretty big play in this type of situation. A little bit more control in the earlier stages, but overall not as impactful when it comes to the meta itself. I just think that, you know, White Mane, she likes to clump. Maybe you can get Horrify value, but most of the time if you clump, she's giving you 40 armor. If you hit the Horrify, probably not going to trade up on that one.
Well, the Phoenix Jaina, when we saw Phoenix Jaina start to come into the meta, it was to counter Garrosh. Again, the slow control that you have between a Plasma Cutter and all of Jaina's abilities, basically. It's very, very different and very difficult for Garrosh since the meta shift around those heroes, specifically the fact that, again, there's so much control on the front line between Murd and Yrel. I am worried because this is the times where I've seen King Caffeine on a hero like Garrosh, and several players in North America, don't get me wrong, and pretty much everywhere, struggled on the Garrosh to have those initiations. So I'm concerned for the front line there for King Caffeine.
I share every sentiment that you just had there. I completely agree. The Garrosh pickup did seem a bit interesting, and I guess I always paint it as more of like a, hey, what if Garrosh isn't the problem? It's just like, look at the thought process that these guys have. It's not the same as this dude has onto this roster, but it could very much come down to that, and I think Cap's going to have a hard time there as he is rocking out.
Well, he's going to have an even more difficult time because Jaina, Jay Shrite, we know him to change up his builds. He's going longer duration on his chill. So instead of 4 seconds, it's up to 6, which means that, well, wherever you think you want to go, it's going to take you longer to get there.
But we got to talk a little bit, I think, here about what that means in terms of the rest of the build, or more importantly, some of the trade-offs that he's not going to have by that increased range at the Ice Lance or the mana. I mean, everybody knows that the Conjurer's kind of mana talent at level 1 would obviously drastically increase your sustainability and spell wave clear across the board. But going into the deep chill, it makes Caf's playmaking far more limited, but the mobility and, more importantly, the positioning of Jay Shrite far more risky. Great play there by Jin, not only dodging the Groundbreaker, but getting a responsive hammer throwback. So Jay Shrite has to be on point positioning from beginning to end here due to this adjustment. I think it's the right adjustment, but we'll see if it hurts.
Well, that's the other thing about that is that when you go that at level, you have to at level 4, it's almost like you have to go Arcane Intellect unless you have a Malfurion on your team. There's no Malfurion here, so it does drastically change not just the play style and the mentality, but your build overall and your playmaking potential, at least in that level 4 range, because that Pierce has always been so strong. And it's still possible you go that, but you will definitely suffer in the mana department.
Yeah, it is wild how it kind of one talent hinges a lot when it comes to the Jaina build overall, and it really kind of ripples through almost every one of her talents from that point on. You could even make different arguments, like kind of in the 13 or even for beyond that point, right? With things like maybe Frost Armor. No melee assassins in this game, so probably not going to be the choice. But for now, laning phase being heavily controlled here by No Tomorrow. No surprise, J-How, I think when looking at the wave clear and control, we talked about the Garrosh trade-off mixed with the fact that, yes, they do have a Rainer, but he's not the best in the 1-4. Junk is going to be doing his best to hold his own there. And then No Tomorrow with the Jaina and the Phoenix, it's pretty easy for them to kind of clear out.
There was one very positive sign that we saw in the beginning as Thompson was going to warp out, was Zuno on that Blaze. During that first skirmish, because the difficulties that Garrosh will have and King Caffeine on that hero will have from making the plays, the Zuno came out there, hit the big jet propulsion in the beginning of that. I think that's going to be necessary throughout the entire game, especially obviously early game, that it's different. But when you get to the later game, it's really going to be necessary for Blaze to have that impact in the team fights.
I completely agree. So much so here. Zuno actually making the rotation up towards mid, lands himself a jet propulsion. Oh my gosh, the scroll actually lands there of sealing onto Jay Shrite, followed up with a toss out from Garrosh. I mean,
White main helium, by the way.
Yeah, I was gonna say, J-How, there is no situation in my brain where that target should be able to walk away from that situation. I'm surprised Jay Shrite was able to make it out. Yeah, it's a good point you raised, though, especially post 4. Things get a little bit easier there with the full Q build that we see Akaface being displayed.
Arcane Intellect was picked up there, so definitely making sure that the mana retention is there. We do have teams, they have managed to get these small turn-ins, which there have been teams in the past because of the level of contention around that, especially when you look at Junkrat getting the poke value. It's just they haven't maintained the vision, the control. There's going to be one interrupt. But the amount of gems turned in at the 3.5-minute mark, it's more than we see in some of these other games.
Makes the trade-off of ganking and anything in the mid-game not as high risk. Hold on, Hosi, concussion mine range. Not going to be there, actually. That was the trap that he ended up throwing down. He was able to kite out. But the risk to the ganking opportunity is a little bit lower, and normally I would say that that's probably going to be a slightly bigger benefit to Simplicity, purely on their compositional kind of holes there, to not be worried about, oh, can we do this because we might lose some of the gems. But other than that, Not that surprising, but it is cool to see both teams, you know, trying that heavily towards the objective itself and get those baby turn-ins. Zuna, jet propulsion was blocked, but not going to matter.
A bit of walk away for now, and that is one thing that Jaina does bring, is that the superior wave clear through one Blizzard alone does allow you to have quicker, faster rotations. There's another interrupt onto Jen. That would have been Webweaver turn-in, so that buys time for now. See if they have another attempt at a stall.
Did you even see the geometry on that grenade that got that final interrupt? Hold up, Jim. Starting it again. It just was ridiculous. Raja Cube gets the interrupt. It should be the final channel. Unless Tiger JK wants to risk his positioning there. Scroll ceiling comes out. King Caffeine gets the flip over on the Aka face. That's the target they want there. Concussion Mine making the escape even further there as he tries to throw out as much damage with the lash that he can. Another kill here for Simplicity.
Nice pickup there on that kill, and they're looking for more as we see the toss in. There's going to be the slow from the oil and the cube, and that is enough for a double kill at a very inopportune time for No Tomorrow. Now this will allow Simplicity to have a much easier clear.
Yeah, that's a major setback there for them, making it pretty much easy for Junkrat to be able to get the top clear, which you already see him kind of working on. The three-man, mainly Raynor, focusing on to mid, and Blaze doing his best on the bottom half. Otherwise, you'd be looking at this and going, you know, this Webweaver phase can really open things up. Maybe they can deny the next Webweaver turn-in, but based on those baby turn-ins already turned in before, there's really nothing to be worried about for Simplicity. They're like, okay, Webweaver's down and we have 30 turned in. We don't have to risk anything unless they somehow find a major pick onto mainly Zuna. He's the only one with enough gems to make it significant.
Well, they get one wall down, maybe a tower or two in the other lanes. And for your first turn-in phase, those two deaths definitely are a setback. Simplicity has their chance at a turn-in momentarily. No Tomorrow trying to get a Siege Giants to help defend against that turn-in.
Jin might get flipped. Nope, patience being displayed there by Calf, understanding that's unlikely to really net too much. Zone attempt for the Webweavers in the turn-in, and there we go. No Tomorrow, though, responding with that pressure on the bottom half, as we saw them working on, along with the Night Camp here. It's going to make it hard for Simplicity to gain too much value. Zuna already starting on the clear down below. That's far more relevant to be able to rid of those Giants than it is the Knights, just purely on less people usually make this rotation, and Giants sit so much farther back. So that is a huge win there for Simplicity.
I'd be curious of the adaptation for Blaze. You know, at times we see, especially against Mage style comps, the spell power reduction at level 13 with his suppressive fire. And looking on the other side, seeing that Whitemane's healing is very much reliant on the damage she does, which is basically through abilities at that point, does give you the opportunity to reduce spell power from her at that level. See if that's something maybe they can take advantage of. There's going to be a taunt, but there's the intercession and the cleanse. That won't save you from a Lornado, as well as the root there, trying to get the knockback. Casanova able to survive.
Great healing there coming out from Akaface. Had to use about as many heals as he possibly could in that type of situation, but throwing out the lash as well. The damage was there. Showing off that Whitemane value, why they might prioritize it there. As high as that second pick. Great concussion mine from Hosi.
That stun landed, but he got out of there right as it landed.
Jin drops off a couple of gems. Not enough gems for a Webweaver face for either team here. At least not yet. It's been a slow pacing here to the earlier stages. Both teams surprisingly focused on contributing towards the Webweavers, but not so much the kills. K1 Pro, though, he's out here a mile. They dropped the Welly, and no way he's making it out of that.
Yeah, that's way in there, but the Lornado is going to lock in a few members for now. Riptire trying to get the follow-up, does explode in the middle of that. King Caffeine took some damage, able to walk away underneath that spell armor from the Knights. The No Tomorrow does pick up their first kill of the game.
See if they try and get a turn in here. Jay Shrite and Jin make the transition down below. As long as Casanova can interrupt Deckard, he will not be able to do so. Blaze actually, man, that is just the tip of that oil there. Hitting Jay Shrite. Calf now trying to get the interrupt. Groundbreaker not going to be thrown. Actually, he throws a dwarf instead.
Awesome. They're getting several interrupts here. May be able to deny it enough. Jin and Zuna, you can see at the bottom of the screen, battling it out, but Simplicity has held for now. Trying to keep this alive. Water Elemental will be up soon. Scarlet Aegis, a few seconds away, so the fighting tools are back for these teams.
Control over vision on bottom, heavily in favor of No Tomorrow. Middle, currently residing for Simplicity. Not going to be the case in about 10 seconds. Phoenix did get a clear on top, and with no aggressive positioning for Simplicity, I think this is the window here for No Tomorrow to be able to make it happen after a middle clear. Jay Shrite gets another interrupt, though. They have to focus more vision control, I feel like, for No Tomorrow to confirm this turn-in. Rather than worrying about these kills, worry about that minion wave like that. Then now you have 15 seconds, you know, to make something happen.
Everybody is just on full-on defense duty. King Caffeine just missing out on the plasma cutter. Had that plasma cutter hit for the slow, King Caffeine might have been tracked down there. Grenade just missing the first one, second one just too late. So No Tomorrow does get their second Web Weaver turn-in of the game. 13 for Simplicity, close by to try and maybe deal with this.
Blaze already showed on bottom, so they know that No Tomorrow knows that Simplicity is looking for a split defense. This is going to allow No Tomorrow to make a pretty aggressive transition if they are successful over this middle siege towards the bottom half afterwards and get a gap close, maybe force a bunker there onto Zuna in the bottom lane. Siege is going to start up. Nobody showing any interest towards top, but that Web Weaver is so far back. He's not going to get too much. Riptire very early, but it's a nice zoning tool.
Helps clear, takes out the minion wave, which is why there was the small delay waiting for everything to come in. Yeah, bot lane. See a bunker.
They already dropped Welly very early. Zuna should not be able to make it out of here. Bunker's there, but it's more of a counter bunker. That is not the, oh, panic button bunker. That's like a, hey, look how much damage this does.
Nice root there, though. Water Elemental's cleared up, so Zuna gets out alive. Junkrat still dealing with the top. All forts still stand here 11 minutes in after this Web Weaver phase. No Tomorrow has not accomplished much, Dread.
Yeah, Jay, how it's... I mean, to be honest here, that's a problem. It's a problem. Tomb of the Spider Queen's a battleground that I talk about in North America, usually with a kind of more somber tone. You know, it's a bit more of the... We struggle to identify usually win conditions at the later stages. And I'm not saying that No Tomorrow's that team or they're going to, but I can't help but feel like if you turn in that many gems, 105 gems, and you can only claim 3 front walls for yourself, it is very unlikely you find those win conditions later on outside of that 4-letter word that we don't really talk about too often, the old boss arena.
But you're about to say team fight, just kill them.
Nah, you know.
Kill him.
Rich kill you?
Kill him now. Yeah, Rich kill you. That is the stuff of legends, by the way. Anybody that never heard that story, it's still memed a lot, you know. I think it was even showing up on Reddit during the Eastern Clash. But it was BlizzCon, and they were in chat, like in-game chat. We could see the observer chat, right? And so Rich is just sitting there, and they're in the lobby together preparing for the game, and Kyoja, they're joking back and forth, and Kyoja simply responds with, Rich kill you. Guess Rich came out and killed people.
It's succinct, but it gets the point across. Talking about killing people, Jay Shrite trying to cut away. Riptire actually takes enough damage to not get the explosion there. Nick Casanova trying to cut away. The bunker flamethrower going everywhere, spitting and spattering all over the place, but not going to get a kill. Good groundbreaker from Calf. Casanova going to go in there, trying to get the damage onto K1 Pro. He eats a potion, drops a passive. Salvo going to drop, hits onto 3 members, but no kill obtained yet. Zuna on an island. Jet Propulsion is going to get body blocked there by Jin and Casanova, but it looks like Simplicity is able to retreat here from that Web Weaver phase. Still a couple needed. 15 in the hands of Simplicity if they're going to get that Web Weaver, but it's like timed perfect. Their experience 16 threshold, while they're going to get the 60 gems, it should be just about at the exact same time here.
I just want to shout out King Caffeine, because his Garrosh play at times, not necessarily been consistent, but the plays that he's been able to make, the defenses, and then that into the fray there, he's keeping this team afloat in several ways in this. It's always going to be individual plays that you can look from basically anybody, but I've been really impressed. Tomster unable to get the lockdown there before the warp out. As Zuna goes in, has popped his Pyromania. There's no fort here to stop, but there's only a water elemental to try and get the slope, but that's already gone.
Yeah, good bunker. A lot of damage going to be thrown down. Actually, even the Blizzard Jet Propulsion just barely out of range, along with the Lornado completely splitting No Tomorrow. Akaface with a legendary cleanse there. 2-man taunt, though, coming out from King Caffeine. Riptire is going to be used, but everybody's healthy enough to be able to survive that one. Seriously, Akaface making huge plays here for No Tomorrow. Only the reason that fight was not a devastating loss, but at the same time, impressive play from Simplicity.
Both teams nearing another turn in. See who can take control of this map. So far, 14 minutes in. the back and forth, because of the wave clear of Junkrat and Jaina respectively, as well as Blaze and the other members with Phoenix, it's been hard to get the takedowns. Those web weavers, they really scale up 15 minutes in. For now, though, it's struggled to really obtain the overall control in this game.
Yeah, we're poising for a 30-minute Tomb game.
Oh, yeah, let's go full EU.
We really are poising for a 30-minute Tomb game. 15 minutes in and one fort is dead. Both teams are already struggling for the third win condition, or even objective for that matter, dead 16. Strap in, ladies and gentlemen. It's about to be a doozy. 16 is here. Stormbolt does land. K1 Pro in a really bad spot. Salva will land. Finn ends up hitting the hammer. Passive going to be used. K1 Pro heals up here. Jin.
King Caffeine, my goodness. Well, he might be dead now, but he saved a few people from death there.
He did. Look at Zuna with the flank there. 3-man jet propulsion. You end up seeing the Riptire with the bunker. Gets the damage out, but it's too little too late. Body block that jet propulsion. And now a huge window here for No Tomorrow. They will be able to get the turn in. And Jayhow, I don't want to speak too soon, but I think they're going to get more than we got out of the last couple of web weavers here. 4 No Tomorrow with 2 members dead.
I mean, if not, you know, I'm not real sure what to say about it at that point, but things are definitely on the uptick here. This white main healing, by the way, is insane. The numbers can only say so much. I want to look at the healing if there was ever a thing that we could get the healing done in like the
fight,
big team fights.
Yeah.
Because white main's output in those fights, I see health bars and I'm like, oh, we might have a count. No, never mind. It's white main healing everybody up. She's insane with some of this healing.
She is, and a lot of it is, a lot of people I think really underestimate, especially as you start scaling kind of post-13. As long as you look for the stack with the build that you see out of Octopace. Hold up here, a lot going on here as the taunt there. Jin jumping in, giving the armor over to Casanova along with the Aegis, providing 75 armor there to a large majority of the members. Man, that is gross. 2-man jet propulsion ends up hitting along with that level 1 used by Zuna. No Tomorrow, very low in HP, has to back out. Simplicity just dominated that skirmish, absolutely dominated it. No kills available, but they easily kind of pushed back the siege there of No Tomorrow.
Urel armor plus Scarlet Aegis armor.
I actually started cringing a little bit in my brain when I saw 3 people with 75 sitting next to their name. I was like, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute.
Let's all group up here, have a powwow. 75 armor for everybody. You get 75 armor. You get 75 armor.
I've said enough stern words about armor that I don't think I need to say anything else at this point. I will just say, please don't allow those to be stackable because, gosh, that is scary.
You know who can take armor away? Jaina. She's taken the armor away with her level 16, so reducing armor. Raider's Raider getting poked down there. Zuna, he's got to be careful not to find himself. Jin bringing the hammer.
But with this web weaver face picked up by Simplicity, Jayhow?
There's double camps.
Yeah, there's double camps, right? And so we can play this minigame, right? There will be camps. What about when the camps get done, right? And what's the next thing?
Well, they spawn so far back, you just kind of watch Jaina clear them, in my opinion.
And then let's just say that doesn't even go down. 20 spike, very reliable. Like, it's about, I mean, I don't know a better way to put it other than just it's not going to be too effective. It really can't make too much happen. Even worse because they spawn so far back, as you said. Ladies and gentlemen, those web weavers die with distance traveled, not with time. As you see, every step it takes, just losing the HP. 20 is not here, so Simplicity, they can bully around for a little bit, but when that 20 spike picks up,
they walk the other way.
Yeah, and there is now the big question we've got to be looking for is once these web weavers are cleared, once the 20s are not there, do they have a turn-in opportunity? The answer is neither team does. So Boss is going to be, in fact, a big problem here.
Credit to Simplicity. I half expected No Tomorrow to force out a rotation in one way or another. Instead, they ended up giving up the push. As they got walked down, they conceded the walk down. So that does give a large chunk of experience over. As you can see, when these fort towers fall, those things I think are worth 1,800 XP, worth 300 more than a fort. Obviously, the real value is in the keeps. That top lane push should not have happened, Dreadnought.
Yeah, that's definitely a fair statement. There was not enough pressure applied by Simplicity for that to be a thing.
That's a win condition now when you mention that 4-letter word of BOSS.
Yeah, that's a good point. Whereas if No Tomorrow picks up this boss, you go, oh, maybe top keep. Well, you say, okay, top keep, 100%. Do they have enough for lethal? Probably need 2 kills. HGC starts this channel here. No Web Weavers available for either team for at least a little while longer, and I can't help but feel like this dance around top is going to be for a long next couple of minutes here. Deckard's still yet to pick up his 20. Does he want to go with the Lornado? Maybe a gem reset. It's going to be Lornado upgrade. Flip over along with the taunt. Cap trying to start to make something happen. A lot of damage going on to him, though. Salvo dropped, but he's going to be just fine. The 35 armor is there. While No Tomorrow clumping up. 4-man deathballing. Flamethrower coming out from Zuno. A lot of damage. HGC can't make it out. He's ice blocked and stuck in to the members of Simplicity. That is the first kill, but they are not done.
And we're seeing more as the grenades. If we can come in and confirm a kill, they got to get locked down to try and get that. If they take down Akaface, they can look for the boss. So 3 members down, Dreadnought. There's potential. They just go. I think boss here might be the safer call, but you also, with the numbers advantage, there's not much in the way. It looks like they might just be trying to end the game right here.
Yeah, with only having a Phoenix Burden, the biggest thing is just making sure the backline doesn't die. They know they have Bunker available too, which is one of the best late kind of sieging opportunities. It's not up now, but it's in 20 seconds, 15 seconds for that matter. So just make sure Raynor stays alive for 15. Worst case, you bunker. Flip over onto Phoenix, a Groundbreaker, a taunt. You know, that's a good way to lock that in. That is GG here, ladies and gentlemen. It looks like Simplicity have the tools here to be able to take this 3rd game and a lead here in this series 2-1 over No Tomorrow. But surely we did not expect that game to kind of open up that fast. It was very abrupt, diddle-daddling for a little bit, and then suddenly, bam, we're ready to end this.
Just like my headphones. For a large majority of that, the pacing was measured and cautious from both sides. And then, just like that, the Lornado, though, in that choke point, that was money.
And I want to bring that back to the pretty much the starting conversation we had in the game when we talked about HGC. His level 1 choice. We talked about the fact that he went with the lingering chill rather than the Ice Lance range. Not that I think it was a misplay by any means, right? Knowing into Garrosh the trade up there, but it changes the mechanics and playstyle there and makes Deckard way more likely to have playmaking capabilities into a Jaina than if you end up not taking it. It's essentially the same trade-off that we saw earlier from Stukov, right? With not going to increase range, you pretty much are like, hey, would you like the Lornado me for free? Because I can't do anything about it. And that's one of the cool trade-offs that I think is kind of coming online, not only with Deckard, but again, these unique builds.
It seemed to work out there on the side of Simplicity, that Lornado play. We know that Deckard has had a high priority amongst most teams, and we can see why. The amount of lockdown that they got to set up those kills. I just want to shout out King Caffeine again on the front line there with Garrosh. It seemed very impactful. He had the taunt there, and it's like, look, I'm just trying to save myself. There was a heal that came in from Deckard, able to walk away and survive through that, but it was the taunts, the throws, the constant saving into the phrase there towards the end of that game. There was so much going on. The Deckard, I think, definitely deserves a shout out from Tiger JK, but King Caffeine, that's one of the best Garrosh games I've seen him play in a while.
And I think it's even more impressive when we consider some of the concerns we had in the draft. That, for me, is like that unique element, right? We can have Calf perform on pretty much any warrior, and I go, you know, the guy can bring it out at any point in time, but it's knowing compositionally, maybe not his go-to warrior, no gap closer, and in a very difficult composition like that, and then still being as high impact as he was. I very much agree with you there. I also wanted to, you know, shout out to Hosty. I feel like that wasn't the exact approach on the rip tires I wanted, but it was like one of the earliest uses of some of the rip tires that I think we've seen in North America. So that pre-rip approach and trying to make sure that they get the team fight that way. And also Akaface on the white main. Hands down the highest performing white main I think we've seen it all weekend long. I say that for North America, not evaluating the European, because Zalia looked pretty good.
Who?
Zalia?
Never heard of it.
Yeah, washed up support. I don't know. Probably some X-range assassin or something. Solo Q doesn't, I don't even know.
Tracer main only?
Yeah.
One trick tracer?
Yeah, him and Poi.
Yeah, I don't. And here, you know, maybe they've got a bright future. I don't know. I still got a long ways to go.
Yeah.
But here, we know teams that used to be at the top. Obviously, Simplicity. They have the star power, the name power of teams that used to be up there. If they pull off this, Dreadnought, we mentioned it when we looked at the standings at the start of this, it gets them further and further away from Crucible range, more towards that playoff potential. And as we alluded to before from the interview from Hosty, they are not yet feeling like they are even near coming online to their full strength. And they are just looking for the fact that, look, a few weeks later, we feel that that's when we can really ramp up and try and get that chase towards BlizzCon. I mean, right now, if you can continue to get wins, that's going to be there for you. And we're going to see where, if that next win comes in the form of Infernal Shrines, is No Tomorrow still prioritizing that first pick.